I never thought I'd say this, but Biden made a good call. He is withdrawing almost all U.S. forces from Afghanistan, and he addressed the nation today about this fact and the fact that the Taliban took over. And so I'm going to show you guys a little bit of that, and then we're just going to talk about what's going on in Afghanistan and my thoughts on the issue.
We severely degraded al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. We never gave up the hunt for Osama bin Laden, and we got him. That was a decade ago. Our mission in Afghanistan was never supposed to have been nation building. It was never supposed to be creating a unified, centralized democracy. Our only vital national interest in Afghanistan remains today what it has always been: preventing a terrorist attack on America's homeland. I've argued for many years that our mission should be narrowly focused on counterterrorism, not counterinsurgency or nation building. That's why I opposed the surge when it was proposed in 2009 when I was vice president. Political leaders gave up and fled the country. The Afghan military collapsed, sometime without trying to fight. If anything, the developments of the past week reinforced that ending U.S. military involvement in Afghanistan now was the right decision. American troops cannot and should not be fighting in a war and dying in a war that Afghan forces are not willing to fight for themselves.
So before I get started, I just want to take a second to say, isn't it it's like shocking to see Biden coherent and not like pass out mid-sentence? He actually made a little bit of sense there. But anyways, let's just get into it, I guess. The first thing I want to bring up is the issues that I have with the withdrawal, because I mean, as much as I am in favor of what Biden's doing, and I think that this is the right move, I don't think he's going about it necessarily the right way, especially when it comes to the 88,000 Afghanis that were allied with the United States. Only 2,000 have been let into the country. We've only given asylum to 2,000 out of 88,000. So these refugees that we helped create, it's only fair that we let them start a new life here. You know, like you can't just go and wage war in a country and then exacerbate a conflict and then not help the people that you were allied with when they get kicked out. It's like the same thing that happened in Vietnam when South Vietnam fell. It's like you got to let the ARVN soldiers in. You got to let these Afghanis that were allied with us into the country. That's only right, in my opinion. So I will criticize Biden on that until he makes seeking asylum a little bit easier for these people. The U.S. spent $90 billion training 300,000 Afghani fighters. We gave them weapons, money, and training, and there were only 75,000 Taliban fighters, guys. And they're using weapons from the fucking 1970s here. There's a complete lack of will to fight from the Afghan people and the Afghan army. We gave them every resource necessary to help prop up this puppet government that we installed, and they weren't willing to fight the Taliban. They turned and ran. So at this point, as much as it is possible, they are determining their own fate. Now, the reason that they lack the will to fight is obviously because Afghanistan is essentially a fake state. It's not it's a loose coalition of, tribes for the most part. These people have been living, a lot of them have been living outside of the central cities. They're not really one central nation. A lot of them don't look at themselves as Afghani. It's more they look at themselves as whatever tribe, they would identify themselves as whatever tribe they are from. And of course they're not going to support a fake government that's been propped up by the United States. Get my papers in order, sorry. It's been like a week since I've done this, and I'm feeling off a little bit today, so anyways, just bear with me. So in 2019 alone, the U.S. dropped 7,423 bombs on Afghanistan, leading to massive civilian casualties. So it's like, I wonder why the people don't back the United States and their puppet government. It's almost like we were murdering them or something. It's fucking crazy that they wouldn't want us to, they wouldn't want to allow the puppet government and the United States to bomb their people and plunder their natural resources. It's like, why wouldn't they let us do that? Crazy. Now, by the way, guys, we were allied with warlords in Afghanistan who had child sex slaves. We obviously were on the right side there, right? I mean, why would the Afghan people not support us and our warlord allies who have child sex slaves? That makes no sense. What? God, I'm trying to put these pieces together and it's just not there. Now, let's get away from the terrible sarcasm for a minute and go into some stats. These are from U.S. News. I'm just going to list these numbers off for you guys and talk about them a little bit. So, American troops killed in Afghanistan, 2,448. 2,448 men and women, American men and women died in this conflict. For what? For mineral wealth and war profiteering and fucking opium? Now, that's a cause that's worth dying for, right? U.S. contractors, 3,846. Afghan military and police, 66,000. NATO allies dead, 1,144. Afghan civilians, 47,245. How many of those were from U.S. bombs? Taliban fighters, 51,191. Aid workers, 444. And 72 journalists died. So, just throwing those numbers out there for you guys. But the biggest issue at hand here is the debt finance war costs of American nation building. It stands at $2 trillion with an estimated interest cost of up to $6.5 trillion by 2050. So we don't have money to, send Americans to college or make sure that Americans are insured. But we have $6.5 trillion to wage wars in the Middle East and in Persia. Where are the Republican debt and deficit hawks at right now? You know where they're at? They're criticizing Biden and egging him on to go back in. So it just shows a total lack of principle there. They don't care. They don't give a fuck about that. They give a fuck about their donors and the people who profit off of war, that give them money and give them cushy jobs after they get out of office. And the biggest question now is, what do we have to show for it? What do we have to show for the thousands of dead American men and women? What do we have to show for the 50,000 civilians killed? And what about the $6.5 trillion the war cost? Nothing. We have nothing at all to show for it. Osama bin Laden has been dead since 2011, guys. We spent the last 10 years sitting in a foreign war with our thumbs up our fucking asses. No clear objectives other than making war profit. I'm not going to cut this out, dude. I'm too fucking lazy for that. So I'm just going to pick up where I left off. We have no clear objectives other than making war profiteers richer and plundering Afghan mineral wealth and opium fields. That's the only thing that we were there to accomplish. And I suppose we accomplished that. It wasn't about the women, guys. It wasn't about the rights of women or the oppressive Taliban or any of that shit. It hasn't been about that shit since, I think, in 2009, there were less than 200 active Al-Qaeda members in Afghanistan. So what the fuck have we been... That's 2009. It's been another 11 years. Now, we need to understand one thing, and that is that the Taliban, like the Viet Cong or guerrilla army, they pose no real threat to the American homeland. Their only ambitions are to govern their own nation. Do I agree with them or their philosophy? No, of course I don't. But as long as they don't pose a threat to my country or my people, that's none of my fucking business. And like I said before, I'm not negating the fact that the United States has some sort of responsibility here to help these people. Like I said, we need to let the 88,000 Afghanis that allied with us, we need to let them into the country, and we need to give them places to stay. That's my position. But it's not our job to go in with and risk American lives and spend trillions of dollars on some foreign war that we get no benefit from. Now, what are we supposed to do? I mean, stay forever? Can he continue to prop up an unpopular U.S. puppet government and fund child molester warlords? Or do we let the people of Afghanistan determine their own fate? Again, we gave the Afghan army, which was 300,000 men strong, $90 billion to fight off a guerrilla army of 75,000. And these guys are using ancient weapons. The Taliban, they're using RPGs and AK-47s from the 70s. The weapons they used to fight the Soviets with. But these 300,000 Afghani army men and security forces, you know what they did? They turned and ran as soon as they heard the Taliban's flip-flops marching into Kabul. Now, if they don't want to fight for a U.S. puppet government, I can't blame them for that. But that's their choice, and it's not our responsibility to stay there and continue to prop up this government. It's their time to determine what they want for their country, and if they want to have a civil war against the Taliban, then so be it. That's their business. It's not our business. And that may be a bit of a limited way of putting it. I understand that it's a much more nuanced than that, but I'm not willing. I'm not going to put more American lives on the line, more American money on the line, especially not when people in this country some people in this country don't even have clean water, but we can pump trillions of dollars into another country. Fuck that.